This week we're going to highlight the results of last week's monthly USDA supply-demand report. We're also going to highlight a change this week in the export sales patterns for beans when we saw some cancellations of beans. And then we're going to wrap things up looking at planting progress for beans so far and also short-term weather trends. Hi, this is Brian Basting with Advanced Trading. Let's talk about the soybean market. We moved into the middle of April here, and this market is certainly quite volatile. Let's start out by looking at the results of last week's USDA supply-demand report. A lot of numbers here. Let's zero in and highlight soybeans. The number for carryout here in the U.S. was unchanged at 120 million bushels. Notice the trade was looking for a fractionally lower number at 118, so really best described as neutral in terms of the U.S. here. Looking at those world numbers, however, notice in Brazil that the crop size is 136 million tons. That's a record, well above the average estimate of 134.2 and up 2 million tons from March. So again, Brazil is going to be a chief competitor in the world export market for the U.S. for at least the next 6 or 7 months. Argentina soybeans were unchanged at 47.5 million tons. The trade was looking for a slight decline there. We'll see. Harvest of soybeans in Argentina is taking place as we speak. So we'll know a lot more by the next USDA report on May 12th. Let's move on now and focus on those export sales of soybeans. Now we've highlighted this throughout the late winter and especially into early spring here that we got a record amount of sales on the books here for U.S. soybeans. And that's still the case here at 2.232 billion bushels. Moving on now, the key thing though is we've talked about this several times, the possibility of cancellations, and sure enough, in the latest USDA report released last Thursday, we did see net cancellations of about 92,500 tons. That's about 3 million bushels of beans. It doesn't sound like a lot, but maybe more to come here in the future based on what we're seeing here in terms of where that number is in relation to the USDA. Speaking of that, the USDA here did increase its export forecast by 30 million bushels to 2280. So we're still at nearly 98% of that forecast. So that's why we say we still think there's a possibility of more to come in terms of cancellations. And we still got to keep an eye on that yellow flag, if you will, those ASF cases in China. Let's move on now and focus on soybean planting progress here in the U.S. Now you can see most of the planting progress here that's quoted by USDA has occurred there in the south in the Delta. But we are hearing plenty of reports that soybean planting progress has started across the Midwest here. Obviously a long way to go in the second week in April, but we have heard that quite a bit this year. Let's move on now and focus on short-term weather trends for soybean planting. Our slides this week, as usual, are courtesy of T-Storm Weather. Now we're zeroing in here, looking at most of the rainfall later this week is forecast across the west, across Kansas, Colorado. As you move further east into the Midwest and north, very little rainfall, so precip shouldn't be a limiting factor in terms of soybean planting. Moving on now, one thing that will be interesting to keep an eye on here, very chilly temperatures here over the next 10 days or so at least. So we're really looking at some chilly temperatures, maybe more of a factor holding back corn planting a little bit. We'll see, but it does look like there's going to be some dryness develop and maybe some planting prospects, possibilities given that outlook. Let's wrap things up looking at trends in November soybean futures. Now this week we've added 2013. And the reason we've added 2013 in that gray line is now with this week's close above $12.50 a bushel, November of 2021 soybean futures are trading higher than they were at this time of year in 2013. So we really have to go all the way back to mid-April of 2012 to see soybean futures for November trading this high. It really continues to underscore the importance of continuing to work closely with your trusted risk management advisor to manage not only your 2020 bushels, but also your 2021 expected production. Now, if you'd like more information, please feel free to contact us, 800-664-2321. We'll put you in contact with our risk management consultants. We'll be happy to visit with you at your convenience. And remember, we upload every Wednesday. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an upload. Thanks a lot. Have a good week.